And now we're live, so there you go. Welcome to the Smashby podcast. My guest today is Sepano. Sepano and I met many years ago at ASD. Ironically enough, he's wearing an ASD shirt and jacket this morning. Um, and this season of the Smashby podcast is all talking about self-improvement, self-goals. And I reached out to Sepano a few weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago, and asked him if he wanted to be on the podcast because he's some guy. He's some guy that's always self-improving. As far as I've known, as long as I've known him, he's always been working on one thing: fighting styles, personal fitness, stuff like that. And he said, "Sure." And then he said, "Oh, what subjects?" And I told him which ones. And he's like, "Oh, I've got an interesting one." And I'll toss it over to Sepano, and he can tell us which one he actually had on his mind at the time.
Yeah, so it was it just popped up in my head because it's something that I've been playing around with, and that's the idea of self-evolution. And yeah, so it was like right in line with what you were talking about wanting to discuss in this podcast. So self-evolution, like if when you asked me, before about it and in preparation for the podcast, it was like that's a good question because no one's ever asked me, and I don't think I've even tried to make a distinction between that and self-improvement. But then as I thought about it, it's at first glance, it's really the same because if you're growing, if you're getting better, then that's a win. That's the whole idea, right? But where I think the difference comes in between self-evolution and self-improvement is that if you improve, there's a chance, hopefully there's a little small chance that you're going to decline. Like if you put in the work, you might decline if you let off or you're complacent or anything like that. But with self-evolution, you evolve, you go to another stage, and from then on, your beingness and your existence is on a different plane, a little bit higher. So you're no longer working like along the same parameters that you were working on before. So it's very mental. It's on a very mental plane, as is this whole, these concepts. But that's really where I would say the difference comes. Self-evolution, you're going to another state of being, and you no longer look at things the same way.
So, if my understanding is like, I mean, you said about not backsliding, but like if you self-evolve, are you also giving yourself that allowance to backslide?
Yeah, definitely. And there's a shift in perspective in that, like, okay, let's say, just to kind of put like a number to it, like, okay, I'm at square zero. All right. And this is how I'm acting. This is how I'm moving. And I have a setback, and it really sets me back. It really breaks me down. And it takes me, let's say, 2 months to get back to that starting point. And then, if I battle through that or whatever, and I get to step one. All right. And then now in step one, I maybe encounter that same setback, but there's so much greater recovery from that. And I think that's the difference in that you have a plus one, you have another well, just, you know what I'm saying? Like you have another view and an experience that you can.
You have that knowledge of what helped you, what put you into the backslide, and the knowledge of how to get out of a backslide.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And then all of the feelings associated with it, the thoughts, and being able to go into yourself and just trace the origin of that pain that you've inflicted upon yourself. Because like all non-physical pain is self-inflicted if you think about it. So you can really just go into that and rewire yourself and just do the whole thing a lot quicker. So you're just more efficient, really.
It's kind of something I've learned from, like, just to bring it to a physical fitness aspect of it. Like that's something I've learned. I'm an all or nothing kind of guy with my diets, with my workouts. Like I have to work out every single day, and I have to avoid alcohol, because if I have like even just a glass of wine, next day I'm not going to wake up and go to the gym. So like when I'm in it to win it, like it's every day, get up, go to the gym. At that night, strict diet, chicken, rice, broccoli. And like the bad thing is I have wine. Like people give me alcohol all the time. And so the temptation is always there, but that knowledge of like, if you have even a glass of that wine tomorrow, you're offset.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I get what you're saying with the self-evolution of like learning from your mistakes, but also like putting yourself in a new place of like this, essentially this is who I am now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool.
Definitely. Yeah.
So what kind of lessons have you learned? What kind of evolution has been pushing you forward?
That's a great question. Okay, overall it's the desire to always achieve the next level of performance for me and do better and take my mind and body to the next level. It always started from like a physical point of view, like growing up, like I had health issues, not nothing crazy, but like I struggled with epilepsy. So I guess maybe it's a little bit crazy on that end, but, and I used to have asthma, like as a little kid, and I wasn't, that athletic and stuff even in high school. And then like I decided, going to college or about senior year, I started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and that was awesome. That was the first time experiencing like martial arts, with the exception of karate when I was like 6 or 7. So I started with that, and then at the same time I started reading about like bodybuilding, and I had this like book about like the encyclopedia of bodybuilders, and it was like Arnold and all those old school guys. And so my motivation was like, I just want to get buff. Like I want to be bigger, because I was this scrawny, like lanky kid. So it was always like from a physical perspective. And then I started learning more and more about like nutrition and all that, and the mind. I should say, backtrack to like age 14, 15. I was studying like subliminal like messages and like the power of the subconscious mind, and just playing around with that and like listening to binaural beats and things like that to try to improve my state and improve my level of intelligence and level of cognition. So the drive has always been there. And then what has pushed the evolution, I would say, is learning like what my purpose is. Like for me, I want to ultimately like get the most fulfillment out of coaching and personal training. And I started that probably going into college or middle of college. I was like just informally helping out friends and roommates and whatnot, and helping them with, their fitness routine, going to the gym with them, and even giving them a little bit of nutrition advice, but always like learning and applying it to myself first. Then I got a job as a personal trainer end of college in Santa Cruz. And then from there I really was in that niche, in that field, and working on that, and worked as a personal trainer in other gyms. And then had a setback, a pretty big one in between, before coming to finding ASD. Basically I had Lyme disease. I was living with that for like a year, and it caused like depression, and I was just in the lowest state like of my life. And I thought I would never get out of it. And that was like probably the lowest for me. Like every day it was just like this struggle, and like I wasn't exercising anymore. There was just no will, and I didn't have any motivation to do anything or work on myself. And I experienced this state where I just didn't even know what my personality was anymore. So it was really tough, and it was really confusing, because I'm like, I don't know what's going on with me. And it's just, I just got to like make it one more day. And then I was lucky enough that I got to doing like this, seeing this doctor who did a brain scan, and then looked at it and saw like there was some stuff going on, some trauma in my brain. And long story short, he gave me a test to see if I had Lyme, and it was Lyme. And he was saying, well, that could be the cause of all this shit that you've been going through. So got through a bunch of antibiotics for like 2 months, like heavy course of like antibiotics and antivirals to get the infection out. And sure enough, at the end of those 2 months, I started feeling better. And that was summer of 2014. And then I told myself I want to get back to my body and improving my fitness and all that, and getting back to martial arts. so I found ASD. So the reason for this entire kind of background is to answer that question, like what drives my evolution is like knowing the depths that I've sunk to, physically and mentally, and then coming back from it and rising and knowing that I can make it back and I can come back stronger, and share that with other people and help empower other people, knowing that I've been through some lows and I can now empathize more with anyone else going through those struggles, and the mental aspect is such a vital part of any kind of self-improvement, any like self-evolution. Like that's the first step. So yeah, I would say it's the just the desire to make myself as enhanced as possible so that I can be that example and I can continue to help others as much as possible. Because that's what I feel my purpose is to teach and to coach and help people with their fitness, their health, their mind, all of that.
That's great, man. That's something I never knew about you. And not that we were always like super close at ASD, but I saw you come up through the ranks pretty quick. Like I think you started a year behind me. And you just like, I didn't know anything about the personal trainer aspect of it. I just like up and I remember you being kind of a lot thinner than you are now. And that's probably on the tail end of not working out so much. But it was almost like somebody flipped a switch and all of a sudden you were like 2 ranks above me. I came back after like a little time off and you were 2 ranks above me. You were like, it looked like you gained a nice like 20, 30 pounds of like pure muscle.
Oh, damn.
And you were doing the Muay Thai and stuff. And yeah, I remember seeing a picture, the Muay Thai class had posted of you like black and white and stuff. And I think you were getting ready for a fight and just like every muscle ripped and it was very intimidating. And I remember seeing the picture and going, well, I'm not going to spar with him anymore. It's one hit to the head and I'm out. But that's great, man, that you took kind of something that was horrible that happened to you and you turned it around. You even helped other people. It sounds like people that were going through something similar. You now have that tool in your toolbox that you can help them with. I know in the sake of transparency, a lot of my friends are going through a rough patch relationship-wise, and so am I, but I'm kind of a few steps ahead of them, and it's weird because now I can turn around and be like, hey, I know what you're going through. Like, like 5 months ago, I was right there. This is what's going to happen next. Emotionally, you're going to be all over the table, and that's okay. And so, yeah, it's weird how sometimes like we go through something and we're like, what was the point of that? And then like a few years down the way or like even a couple months down the road, you kind of have this like, oh, okay, now I know why. Now I know why I went through that.
Definitely. Cool. Yeah, there's always some weird reason, and like this saying has been beaten to death, like everything happens for a reason, but to some extent there is truth to that if you're willing to learn and be a student to the pain teachers, which is something I was mentioning. That I got that from Paul Chek, this guy, Paul Chek. He's like this holistic lifestyle coach and really knowledgeable dude. But anyways, it's like, yeah, if you're willing and open to learning and improving and learning from the lessons, which can be tough, like hard lessons and no games. There's no like happiness and sunshine when you're going through that stuff. If you're willing to go through that, yeah, that reason is what propels you to like another state.
Yeah, and it's weird. Like, and I'm going to be doing a podcast with one of my friends probably next week on comfort zones, and it's weird how was it Sean T, the creator of Insanity and Hip Hop Abs and stuff like that, the beach body guy. His book T is for Transformation is phenomenal if you ever get a chance to read it. And he has a saying that life begins at the end of your comfort zone. And it really does. Like for a long time, I was getting up, going to work, coming home, like I would occasionally work out, or like I would just kill myself and work out, but I didn't have the nutrition, so it didn't look like I was working out. Uh, but as soon as I was kind of shoved outside of my comfort zone, at first it was uncomfortable, but then slowly but surely I started to grow in ways I've kind of always wanted to, but it just never was there. The drive to be more proactive in my life, to go talk to friends, to be more emotionally vulnerable. Like as soon as I was outside my comfort zone, that part of me just took off growing. And it sounds like that's something that you can relate to about just being outside your comfort zone.
Yeah, definitely. And it's constant work too. Like, on any level, like even this, like this is outside of my comfort zone, but I'm having fun doing it. Like it's just new territory, like I've always had conversations with friends and stuff talking about these deeper things, but now it's like a podcast, and it's something that I was once thinking like I would like to do that one day, but it's like I gotta be on point, and all these things that like can come up in your head, but negative or positive, like once you thrust yourself into that situation, it's just you'll just be surprised at like how you come out in the end of it, whatever the thing is.
You'll at least learn something new about yourself or about the world or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and it gives you more fuel, like maybe at the moment whatever the thing isn't, you're not feeling it then, like you're gonna feel it later, and you're gonna have that, like that plus one, that when you go into something else, either related, same situation, or something new, you can just apply that level of, or that ability to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I've heard that saying before, and I really like it. And for me, it's also recognizing what makes me uncomfortable. And like, obviously there's some things that should make you uncomfortable. Like nobody should want to jump out of a plane without a parachute. That's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You're not going to learn very much, or you're not going to be able to carry it very far. But there are certain things like the Spartan race. People think I'm excited to do the Spartan race, and I now I am. But when I first heard about it, I was like, oh, I never want to do that, because it's going to scare me. It's going to make me feel very inadequate. There's going to be these guys that like train for it. I'm going to be like jumping through the mud, and like we all have this image of like you come out of the mud and like the mud's just glistening off muscles. I'm feeling it's just I'm going to look like the Swamp Thing, like just
yeah.
But it makes me uncomfortable. But that's why I have such a drive to do it, is I know I'll push myself, and then years from now I'll look back and it'll be a great memory. So yeah, recognizing what makes you uncomfortable, recognizing what about it makes you uncomfortable, and then recognizing like, yeah, I need to push my boundaries, or I need to firmly stay in my boundaries.
Yeah, and it's good that you mentioned that, like there's like a necessary amount of fear that's healthy. Like, yeah, obviously you wouldn't just jump out of a plane without a parachute, like there's certain mechanisms that are in place for a reason, but being aware of when it's for your survival, whether like literal or not, and when it's just to keep you in that comfort zone and keep you from experiencing the non-physical pain.
Yeah.
That makes sense,
But like, and every single one of my friends I've ever talked to that have jumped out of a plane with a parachute, it's a fond memory. They're all excited about it. Oh, I would do that again in a heartbeat. It's such a rush, and like, oh, you conquer your fear and stuff like that. So yeah, there's it's that firm aspect of it, like pushing your fear, pushing your boundaries away, and living life. Because like nobody wants to be on their deathbed and be like, oh, it was a great thing that I just sat on the sofa and watching Netflix all day.
Yeah, that actually reminds me of like one thing Everest Pepper would say. He was like, you don't want to be looking back and saying like, I wish I would have done that.
Yeah.
You want to just go and do it. And yeah, that's a lesson that I always remember. It's something he would always say. And so shout out to Ev.
Shout out to Ed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what you were saying about like life, like this is something. Have you heard of Jordan Peterson?
No.
So he's a clinical psychologist based in Canada. He's a professor, and he talks a lot about self-improvement. And he has a book actually, like 12 antidotes for antidotes for chaos, or the 12 rules. I'm totally butchering the name. Anyways, but basically what he was saying was like you're all in life.
Yeah.
You're all in. Like, so why hold back? You know, and it just seems like such a simple thing, but once he put it that way, like I was like, damn, you know, it's true. Like, yeah, why hold back on anything and then later on regret, like, you know, experiencing it and going for it? Because yeah, this is all we have.
Hmm. And like some experience are negative, but like we were saying, come full circle, like that negative experience may help you grow in some other way, or may help somebody else who's going through the same thing. Yeah, I had a pastor when I was a kid who would always talk about nobody sits on, and he would say like, I've talked to many people on their deathbeds and not one has ever said, God, I wish I spent more time in the office. Like, it's always like, spent more time with the family, spent more time out doing stuff, spent more time living this life. Because like you get to the deathbed and yeah, you kind of rewind the tape and like, oh, there's so much I could have done, or like there's so much I was afraid to do that now I wish I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
I was talking to an older woman at a party not too long ago. I'm gonna say she's 76. For some reason, that number's kind of playing in my head, but I have a feeling it's gonna come back, and she's gonna be much younger. And she wasn't shy about her age, which was really nice. But she was essentially asking me, why don't you ask this girl out? And I was giving her like, you know, I'm going through something right now, and this, that, and the other thing, and like it would be awkward for her. And she was like, I'm 76, and I have a list of people that I wish I had kissed, but never one that I would regretted kissing. And I was like, oh, that's kind of a good way of looking at it. Like, I'm sure like that's not permission to go around just kissing anybody you want, because we'll end up in jail.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of that, like, I forget which movie it is, and I'm sure somebody's going to comment or send me a message, but grab life by the horns. Kind of like, just got to live life. So what advice would you have for anybody who's looking to self-evolve, that's like kind of in their rut and looking to self-improve, grow, find themselves to be a completely different person in, say, a year or two?
Yeah. So two things. Like the first thing is have a reason, a strong enough reason to grow and improve. Like, what's your purpose? Everybody has a purpose. And this is one thing I've talked about or made like little posts here and there on, like, the greater your purpose is, the grander you can make it, the more unlimited you will be in your striving, like to reach that. You're just going to get so much more and have so much more power, like both mentally and physically. And then the next thing is be honest, be totally honest with yourself. Because that, I think those two things probably go head to head, like in importance, because if you have to be honest with where you're at and what you're struggling with, what you're not okay with, and not shun it out. Like, don't hate on yourself. Don't hate on a past self even, or something that you're unhappy with. Like, embrace it and realize, okay, this is not serving me anymore, and I need to take steps to improve. I need to be totally honest with how I am physically, with my body, how my relationships are, how my thoughts are on a daily basis. That's where journaling helps, you know, or even just discussing it with someone that you trust, and just having that like open dialogue. So honesty and purpose, I think, are the two things.
Okay, nice. So that's what you would use as the how to propel yourself forward.
Yeah. I think the honesty is just giving yourself, like, having the baseline, being like, that's your own assessment of like, okay, this is where I am. This is what I need to do. This is what I need. because then that's going to build awareness. And that's like one of the biggest things, like awareness. And, you know, we even learned that. I'm studying sports psychology too now. And like, that's one of the common like themes that's revolving is helping the athlete or helping the person achieve awareness or gain awareness of their current state. So that, but then the purpose, that's like that rocket fuel to propel you towards your dreams.
Yeah. The saying I always use is, what is your why?
Yeah.
My friends would come to me and like, oh, I want to get, you know, super, like in the past 6 months, I've gained 12 pounds of muscle, 20 pounds, but I want to lose some of that, but 12 pounds of muscle just from eating better. And as such, a lot of friends come to me and like, man, I've seen you change so fast. Like, can you come to the gym with me, or can I go to the gym with you and you can show me how to work out? And I'd say, well, why? What do you mean why? I want to look good. Okay, but why do you want to look good? Like, you trying to impress that guy at work? You trying to get back in an ex? Do you just want to be stronger? Like, what is your why? I use the gym as a self-discipline and kind of a meditation when I go there now. Obviously, when I went there, it was for reasons of wanting to make somebody jealous. But that, again, I asked myself, what is your why? And I said, I want to be healthy. I want to be strong. I want to be able to do the Spartan race when the time comes. And so it shifted. And just by asking myself that question almost every day, it was able to kind of like, I'm not going to the gym for somebody else. I'm going to the gym for me. I'm not going out to hang out with friends. Yes, for them, but also because I get a lot out of that. I'm just talking. Yeah, so say it one more time, because I wrote down in my journal here, I'm old school with pen and paper.
Me too. Yeah.
Mine was, what is your why? And what is
your purpose?
What is your purpose?
Yeah, your purpose. Just going back on what you said, you're like doing it for yourself and like to improve versus doing it for an outcome. So that's like another thing, like your goals, like having, like being task oriented or outcome oriented, or your task or ego oriented. And that's like basically, if you're, you know, one is intrinsic and one is extrinsic. And the more you can be intrinsically motivated, the more likely you are to adhere to that endeavor, to that thing, and improve, because you're never going to lose the motivation. Like my uncle, you know, he was trying to lose weight for a long time, and then he did it. Like at first he lost a bunch of weight because it was a bet that he made with a friend, and he won the bet, and then he put the weight back on. And then the second time around, he did it for himself, pure and simple. And it was just for the reason that I want to be healthier. I want to feel better about myself, nothing outside of himself. And think that right there is so simple, but so important. Like, yeah, that's like, what's your why? And if you make that more intrinsic, you're just more likely to succeed, I think.
That's beautiful. Yeah, in fact, I just heard this story again yesterday about and I'm sure you've heard it being in the fitness industry, but the story of the young man who shows up at a guru's house, and he says, I want to learn how to make a lot of money. I want to learn how to be successful. And the guy says, okay, meet me on the beach tomorrow morning. And the kid shows up, and he's in a full suit, and the guy in a boat, and he says, come out into the water. And so the guy goes like waist high, and he's like, is this good? And he's like, no, come out all the way. And goes on for many levels. And finally he gets all the way to like where the water's right above his nose, and the guy takes his head and pushes it down underwater. And the kid thinks like, this guy's got to be crazy. And right before he passes out, the guy lets him up and says, when you want to succeed as bad as you want air right now. And so, yeah, the kid wanted money, he wanted success, but he was really willing to give that up the second like he started drowning. And so like, yeah, if it's internal, if you're like, I need to succeed as bad as I need to breathe, it's going to get you a lot further than like, I just want money. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
No, that's so powerful. Yeah. Like Yeah, need as bad as oxygen.
Yeah.
You know? And like another thing is, and this might at first sound like it goes opposite to intrinsic motivators, but um, I posted this something about like three ways to supercharge your motivation, and then one of them I called like the social factor, and there's two parts to that. One is not wanting to look bad, like you announce like, hey, I'm gonna lose 20 pounds in 10 months, or 20 pounds, let's say 6 months, whatever. Yeah, yeah. I mean, whatever, with x amount of weight in x amount of time, and you announce it, like suddenly there's some fear behind like not reaching that, because there's the fear of shame and not following through. That's actually one of the reasons, like I did the fights, with ASD and Muay Thai, like, or I stuck to my regimen so strictly, because I didn't want to look bad. I didn't want to let the team down. I didn't want to let the coach down, and everyone who was counting on me. So that was like one thing. And then another aspect of the social factor is just like, doing it for those you love, or let's say maybe you have kids, or maybe you have family, loved one that really are counting on you. And it's like, I have to be the best version of me so that I can give them inspiration. And, so that's like one way of just supercharging that motivation. It's like that gets you, I think, as close to the gasping for air and wanting air.
Mm. Yeah. There's I do this with my friends now, especially the ones that, oh, you look so great, how do I get there? And I tell them, like, do 20 push-ups every day. And and sure enough, like, I'll check in with them, or I've got one who, like, she sends me Facebook messages constantly, like, oh, I'm up to 30 push-ups today. I'm like, oh, I just did 40. And it's, like, slowly building up to that is kind of like, I felt, because for a while there I was doing on social media like 100 push-ups every day, and not all at once, but like 30,
Right.
Building up to it. But yeah, like that social pressure is the wrong word, social accountability of kind of like, I used to take daily insanity photos until one friend literally told me, she was in the back of the car, and she was like, yeah, I'm sick and tired of seeing those pictures of you. And I realized it was kind of having the opposite effect, where it was kind of pushing people, like, oh, he's working out every day, I could never do that, so I'm just not even going to try, kind of thing. But yeah, now I'll do like once a week encouraging photos. But you had like kind of, I want to reflect for everybody. I want to kind of like, all eyes are on me during these fights, and so I kind of want my coach, who's a great coach, to get more students, or to at least have the honor of saying, like, I taught him how to do that.
Exactly. Yeah. And I would say that was one of the things that drove me to stay in the fight. Like, I had this fight in 2017 where I took a head kick, I hit the ground, and then I dislocated my shoulder. It was like within the first 12 seconds of the fight. And yeah, I mean, I got up right away. It was, I guess, like a flash knockdown. Like I instantly got up, but it was just that rebound off the canvas, and just I clearly could feel something was off, and I looked and I saw like the bone was sticking out, and I was like, fuck, okay, like, it's on now. Like, I can't, I mean, there's no option to quit. I'm not going to quit.
Today.
What was that?
No jabs today.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I was like, I hope the official doesn't see it, and like call off the fight. But it was just thinking like, well, first like, oh fuck, okay, I just got hit, and I'm better than that, and everybody just saw that. Like, I gotta really up my game now, and just fight through it. So yeah, it made me like fight through nearly 3 rounds, until it was a TKO at the end. So because the guy just gassed out, he was tired, and yeah, but things like that, like, and and I couldn't have performed like that with that high level of conditioning if I hadn't stuck to my regimen, because of the need to perform and like, and be at my best. So yeah, that, I think it was just such a powerful motivator for me.
Yeah. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this is Giovanni, Yeah.
Yes.
I'm gonna go on a limb, and when he saw that your shoulder was dislocated, he probably told you you're an idiot for still fighting.
You know, he actually didn't. Oh, you mean afterwards? Like
Afterwards, yeah.
I think like from what I recall, like he was just he couldn't believe it himself. Like and he was like, I wish you told me in the fight.
Uh,
Um, but but then I was like, I didn't want. I told him like you were probably gonna pull me out because you wouldn't want me to get hurt. And he was like, yeah, that's true. And yeah, he didn't notice it until I think like the second round or something. Because I think I was like covering it, and then like the official came by and looked at it, and that guy was pretty cool because if it, he saw that it was out, and he was like, is that shoulder? And I was like, that's fine. And then I'll never forget. He was just like,
my body, but it's good.
he was like, it always looks like that, huh? And he just winked at us, and like I was like, good man. But yeah, no, he was definitely like, yeah, why'd you do that? Like, what was that? But he was glad that I didn't quit, and
Yeah.
um, yeah. So just things like that, and it's like situations like that you may be in. It doesn't have to be like a competitive fight. Any kind of situation like where you face this adversity, this challenge, and then you see what you're made of. And I think what matters is like as long as you're still living and breathing, and you come out of it and you still have that will to like improve in some way, then you have 100% chance to succeed.
Mm.
It's like I used to say like to clients like a long time ago, it was like, your body and your mind is like your number one investment, and as long as you're living and breathing, you have like 100% chance to capitalize on that investment.
Yeah.
All that takes is just like the awareness to suddenly be like, hey, I gotta do this now, and then just get at it.
I've always maintained like sparring, karate, boxing, all kind of fighting sports is like you can't teach heart. Actually, that's something Mark Herman used to always say. Yeah.
Shout out to Mark.
Shout out to Marky.
Yeah.
It is you can't teach heart. Like you can teach a good jab, you can teach how to fight, you can teach good footwork, but like if your heart's not in it, if you just want to quit the second you get hit, if you especially like asshole behavior, like if you're just a complete ass to everybody and you walk into a gym and you think you're the toughest guy in the room, like nobody's gonna want to train with you, nobody's gonna want to teach you. Eventually you're gonna go in a sparring match and somebody with a lot more heart is gonna just wipe the floor with you. So yeah, having that attitude of like, my shoulder's dislocated. I'll be the first to admit it. If we were to switch places and somebody just hit me to the ground and my shoulder dislocated, my hands be up. I'm out. This hurts like hell. I dislocated my toe once in karate, and like I did the tournament after that and re-dislocated it during my performance, and I was just like, never again will I compete with an injury.
Well, you never know. Like, I was surprised myself. Like, I had never dislocated my shoulder before, but it was like just the adrenaline and just so much on the line. So like you'll surprise yourself. But yeah, I guess it's true. You can't teach hard, and it's just something that I think can have the potential to develop out of situations that you've been in your life. And like, not to say like you should go looking for hardships or looking for like shitty situations to get yourself into, but like in some ways it can be a hidden blessing to have hardships. And I think like that's kind of getting a little off topic, but that's just how you know that the shit's real. Like when you're going through struggles, like in your journey towards anything, like okay, I'm on the right path because I am struggling. Like when things are too easy, and this goes back to the comfort zone, like if it's just too easy all the time and it's just perfect and it's happy, like where's the fun in that? Like think of any movie you watch, any story, there's always like a conflict, there's always like the rising action, falling action, the climax, all that stuff. And that's like the characteristics of a good journey in something.
Yeah.
You know.
You never see a movie where, and then he sat down and it was easy for him and credits, like, yeah.
It's funny just thinking of it, because it's just there. Everyone can inherently be like, what the fuck was that? Like, what, like, where's the drama? Where's the action?
Yeah, exactly. Where's the conflict of this character? Was it I had a drama teacher that always used to say, there's 3 types of stories: man versus man, man versus himself, man versus the world. As soon as he pointed that out, I was like, oh yeah, every single movie, everything we've ever known is those 2 things. And man versus himself has always been kind of very interesting to me, to see somebody, changing themselves, pushing against themselves to be better than who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's the secret right there. Like, not like saying go to war with yourself, but almost sparring with yourself.
Yeah.
Challenging, yeah, because that's where the real growth is. I mean, there is the growth when it comes to your interaction with the environment, because you learn a lot. But I think that's like, let's say with yourself, that's sparring, and then with the environment, that's the fight. If that makes sense. That's the competition, because you learn with yourself, and then you're training yourself. You're understanding how you operate, how you think, how your emotions are, under such and such situations. Then you can apply that, with other people, and then that's going to be an indicator of how you're doing. Because people, there's people that are like, that can be haters or whatever, but like, if you go to like 10 people and have an interaction with 10 out of 10 people, and or 10 out of 10 of them basically like say that you're a dick, or whatever, then it's like, maybe it's a clue that maybe I'm kind of being an asshole, and vice versa. Like, if you create like good interactions and then put out positivity, and people just make those comments, it's like, it goes to this saying, it's like, let other people compliment you, or let other people say the things about you that you think about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
If you're a generally a nice person, you don't have to go around telling people you're a nice person.
Yeah.
You can see that with the current administration actually right now, is like, you have to go around telling people you're a genius.
Yeah. No, exactly. Like, it's like the person that has power or has whatever, it isn't going to be like, hey, look at me, I'm here, like, I'm making it in life, like, it's just, they're going to exude that, and they're going to be that, and they don't have to prove it.
Yeah.
Lead by example.
Yeah, exactly. To go back a little bit to what you were saying about, like, if you're sparring, generally your opponent, hits back, but you're also your opponent. It's just kind of one of those, like, because you and I used to quote Creed or Rocky back all the time. Gotta cut me, Mick. But in that movie Creed, got that scene where Apollo Creed's son and him are training, Rocky and him are training, and he says, "Now look in the mirror. This is that guy looking back at you. That's your biggest opponent. That's the hardest one. Nobody's gonna hit harder than him." So, and it's true. Like, if people spar out there, like, you got self-control, you got emotions running deep, you got, self-doubt is, for me, that was the hardest one to conquer when I was sparring, is just like, I'm not good enough, or I'm scared to do this, or there's no way I could possibly go, 10 rounds against any of these people. And so, is defeating that opponent before you can even get in the ring with anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, to wrap it up, as we're coming to a close here, what self-evolution have you seen in your own self? Self-evolution that you've seen in your own self. That's good. What evolution have you seen in yourself in the past year?
Yeah, I think being able to like on a physical level, like establish um, myself in San Francisco, living where I'm at, and having a job like where I'm doing what I love. I'm coaching people. I'm a personal trainer, and like I can support myself doing that. I think that's just an indicator that like I've gotten my shit together more, and like I'm able to handle the responsibility of going in and running classes and waking up early in the morning, things like that. Like just back to like the very basic things, but things that require like stability and focus and discipline and just kind of being in it for the long haul. And then also just with school, like I started a master's program in last September, and I finished 3 quarters. I'm taking this summer quarter off, but I did pretty well, in every quarter so far. And that's a sports psychology program that I was talking about. So that was an indicator, being able to balance that with work and then moving to a new place in the city. So all of those things I think are just reflections of like my level of growth and being able to handle the workload and the responsibility. And then, yeah. And really within all of that is the, like the emotional and the mental, the physical, the spiritual, if you want to use that, like all of those things have to come together and to like distill down to like this purpose that you're trying to fulfill. So I think I'm just getting everything together more, and I feel it more. And even with my training, like I'm not training actively in martial arts right now, but I feel like with my movement, I'm getting more focused on the smallest aspect of my body and the movement, and getting more out of any kind of exercise that I do, and just going to like the finest degree of things and exploring it more and having more curiosity about things. So
Beautiful.
kind of all over the place, but yeah, I think there's just a greater wisdom that I have, and I want to say that it's just going to keep on growing. I'm going to keep learning, I'm going to have road bumps and stuff. I know that, like, I know I'm going to have times where I fail, but going past the failures, going past like the mistakes, and just keep plugging along.
Awesome. It's awesome, man. Well, I thank you for your time.
Yeah, man, it was great
I
being
thought
here.
we were only going to go like 15 minutes, and we've gone a little over that. But that's great.
Yeah. I think there's some good stuff, I think, for people in there.
All right, man. Well,
Yeah.
if people wanted to follow you on social media, are you okay giving that out, like your Instagram handle?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, it's just at Coach Sepano on Instagram. And yeah, I have a website also, which that's the next thing, like as far as the next evolution, getting back on the blog and putting weekly videos, whether it's fitness, nutrition. See, now I'm putting it out there. So that's
Now you
what
have
it
to do
is. Now I have to do it. Yeah. So that's coachsepano.com. There's some stuff on there right now, but it's dated back like a few months. So that's the next step for me, getting more of an online presence and putting more of that, what I learn, out there.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you again. If you want to follow Sepano, it's at Coach Sepano on Instagram. And this podcast should be up later this afternoon.
Awesome, man.
Well, thank you so much, sir. I'm going to sign off here, and we'll be all done.
All right. Fight the fight.
All right.
All right, brother.
All right.